Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fox's View. So we've got a decent amount to talk about tonight. Obviously, Steve Cooper, Cooper in, Cooper out, that debate, and potential manager. I'd say debate. I don't think there's going to be much of a debate to it, if I'm completely honest. Who could be the next potential manager? And are we being slightly harsh on Steve Cooper? And is our squad Premier League quality? So, Neil, you're very quickly shaking your head, so we'll get into it in a second. But how are you doing, mate, before we get into all of that?
Outside of football, it's fine. The football stuff's annoying though, and it's getting to the point now where I'm like, I did the preview for the Man United game, and once I wasn't trying to, I'm not that great, but you could tell what's going to happen. They're going to attack down the right hand side. They're going to get a cross in. We're not going to defend that well. We're not going to attack that well, and we're just going to we don't manage the game. And I think that 3-0 is going to be quite common going forward until he goes.
Yeah, we'll get into all of that in a second. Daz, how are you doing, mate?
Again, I've got to echo. Apart from football, everything seems to be all right. So yeah, just happy to be here, mate.
Yeah. Right, before we get any further, guys, make sure to check out Beyond the 90. It should be the first link in the description. Check out Daz's channel. It should be in the comment section and the pinned comments. But I think the only place to start is, well, there's been rumours, where is it? Bear with me, of potentially David Moyes and Graham Potter both being keen and waiting for the job. It is coming from Footy Insider, so do take it with a huge pinch of salt. But I do think it's worth talking about of Graham Potter and David Moyes would both be interesting in taking over from Steve Cooper at Leicester. Like, Footy Insider are one of those, they do get stuff right, but if you throw enough at the wall, eventually something will stick. But, Neil, either of those names do anything for you?
Potter, yes, but my kind of running joke is if we go for Potter again, he's going to put a restraining order on us because the amount of times we've been going in for him, and he just said no and no and no and no. It feels like that. And again, if we want him and he doesn't want us, we just need to just end it. But it's different because we're becoming more desperate. We've obviously got the difference is we've not got points deduction, and this time, well, the main one that's going to happen has been checked off, and maybe he's getting desperate because I thought he was dead set for the England manager. I thought that was him, and then that didn't happen. So I don't know what his next career move is. So I'd like Potter out of the two.
Yeah, I thought it would either be England or United because he was heavily linked to both of them, and neither of them have come about. But he's had a year out the game. Daz, I don't think he's going to have much longer out of the game. And I think it's one of those, if we wait and wait and wait, and you can say this for Graham Potter, you can say this for many more managers that we're looking at. The longer you wait, the more of those are going to get snapped up.
Yeah, I feel that it's only going to be, there's a few clubs in the Premier League that could offload their manager if results don't improve in the next few months. When you look at Wolves, for instance, as much as I think Gary O'Neill's a decent manager, he could go. West Ham are not really doing where they should be since they got rid of Moyes. I think Dyche's job's safe and the other promoted guys, but there are other options available just in the Premier League alone, let alone in other leagues. So yeah, I think if we don't act fast, we're going to be late to the party as we always are. And I think that's what's going to bite us in the rear again. And yeah, I just like to avoid that.
Yeah. I've heard some rumours today, and they are just rumours, but Cooper's probably not as close to going as we were maybe hoping, or at least I was maybe hoping. And that worries me because I've talked to a couple of Fulham fans randomly today, and they're like, "Oh, but you're doing all right. You're 15th. You're just outside the relegation zone." I really think our position in the league tells a lie to what we've actually been this season.
It was the same thing, when we went down and everybody goes, "Nah, mate, you'll be fine." And I was like, "Look, our performances aren't there. And the only time that, I think the way that it works is because they've not played us in a while and they don't watch for 90 minutes, it's easy for them to say, yeah, you'll be fine. I remember talking to, Ali, and where he was for Crystal Palace fans, and we played them. Obviously, that was a game that Brendan Rodgers got sacked. And he was like, you'll be fine, though. You'll figure it out. And he played it and he went, you lot are gone. You just tell that it's the soft thing that doesn't make it to the 3-minute highlights or 5-minute highlights on Match of the Day. And if you, for example, if you look at the Match of the Day against Man United, you go, oh, Leicester had an off day. They didn't really mark the left back, and they had a worldie, brilliant goals, etc. But if you watch the full 90 minutes, it paints a very, very different context of the game, especially with the running and how we've got since the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, and this is why I typically don't really take non-Leicester fans' views too seriously on Leicester, because they're not the ones watching 90 minutes after 90 minutes, does.
Yeah. I'm kind of guilty of that a little bit though myself. I watch pretty much every football game that's out there as and when I can, and you'll go, oh, that weren't a good game for them. But I agree. Until you watch a full 90 minutes and you're emotionally invested in a club, you don't really care. You just go, oh, that was a good goal. Oh, that was a slip up. Whereas most Leicester fans nowadays, especially with the technology and the stuff that we've got available to us, we can bite-size down every single bit of detail. You can get stats for days, and you can have a really good analysis of the football match in front of you, and then for somebody else who cares about the club to maybe do a deeper dive. So it's changing, but yeah, it's a wake-up call for a lot of Leicester fans.
I've just put a poll in the chat. Are we being too harsh on Cooper? Because I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. But I have a feeling I know the way that the poll's going to go, but I just want to do it out of sort of balance and fairness, because I know that the away fans, and it was one of the away games I haven't been to this year, but the away fans at Old Trafford really turned on Cooper. And for me, when the away fans start to turn, that's when the writing's on the wall. Because there were certain points under Brendan Rodgers where the away fans weren't happy. I think Brighton away was one that was mentioned, but there was still a large contingent of the away following that was heavily behind Brendan Rodgers. And it really had to get really, really sour before they turned. The fact that a lot of the away following has turned already on Steve Cooper, does that indicate anything, Neil?
Yeah, I think you're right. Again, I can't really add to what you were saying. And the only one that I can think of is obviously under Brendan Rodgers. And I don't think the player, the ground, the king. So what happened is the away fans, obviously they turned, and then it started to spread through the ground. It was like, oh, you're being a bit negative. But people were just silent and people were just shocked that this was happening. And then I think after the shock, then came the out. But I remember games where going to them and people were just kind of standing there with their hands on their head like this. What have we just watched? And it wasn't like, oh, I want the manager out. It's just, I can't believe what we're watching. And I remember it sucked. The performance sucked all the energy out of the ground. I know the King Power's not the loudest or one of the best grounds in the Premier League, but people were just standing there going, I don't know what to do with this information because we've just got absolutely tranced. But this team's better than that. And it was almost confusion at that time rather than, oh, I want the manager completely sacked.
It's like that because when you used to stand up by me occasionally, you could hear a pin drop around there, and if you go up there now, even though we're not the best, it's loud, it's lively, it's loud, it's moany as well. But that's a different conversation for a different day. But you could hear a pin drop, and it's like, I think that the King Power is going to turn very toxic very soon, because after the Forest game, it was very toxic around me. But I think you have to add into who we'd played and who we got beaten by on that day. I worried as that if we get hammered by Enzo and Chelsea, I think it's particularly by Enzo, that is really going to tip a lot of people over the edge.
Yeah, that's when we were looking at the run of games, obviously we pinpointed Manchester United, Chelsea. Chelsea is for me probably the worst, and the fact that it's at home, the fact that I think that he's the type of guy to say, okay, then you were moaning at me when we were in the Championship together about hoof the ball up the field. I'll show you how a proper team plays, and obviously I'm not saying that we're not a proper team, but that's what he'll say. You know, I've got these players now at my disposal. We play the Enzo way. You've got Super Cooper. You know, this is how we play. And I think we're going to get absolutely humbled. Seriously, mate. I think we're going to get so humbled. I think it'll be probably one of the worst atmospheres in a very long time at the King Power Stadium. And I think it'll be even worse. And I don't take this away from the guy. I think Kiernan Dewsbury Hall may make an appearance just as a...
What, from Enzo? Because Dewsbury Hall wouldn't be the one to do that to us.
Dewsbury Hall would never do that, but Enzo would be like, no, he's mine now. Or, again, I've got this feeling, mate. I've got this feeling.
The thing is, Enzo seemed to have a lot of respect for the fans when he was here, but you could tell that the relationship with the board after January was... There just wasn't one, was there?
It was the whole Stefano Sensei deal that was being dragged on. It was all this FFP that came out afterwards, the fact that we'd lied to him or maybe not had told him the true status of financial affairs at the club. And to be quite frank with you, I can't be angry at the guy for it, because if anyone's lying to you, especially about the job that you're doing and the monumental task it's already going to be to keep a newly promoted team in the Premier League playing the Enzo way with no plan B, all these other people are going to get so roasted against Chelsea. It's going to be hilarious. I never wanted him to go. I didn't think it was the best football in the world as in on the eye to watch. But when it worked, it was bloody beautiful when it worked. Like that I can't remember what goal it was, but it was a team goal that was like 40 or 50 passes consecutive.
Was that Rotherham at home where they had everyone in front of the box, just in front of their goal?
And it was just like bang, bang, bang.
And guess what we're going to do against them? Exactly that.
Literally, it's just going to be an absolute. Yeah, I'm not going to swear, but it's going to be an absolute horrific game. I feel. Yeah.
The thing is, it's going to either go that way or the absolute opposite way, where they batter us for 90 minutes and we shit out a 1-0. It's like.
I'd love that. Just Jamie Vardy runs up to the thing like that.
I'd love it, but we just don't have that. They've got. There's certain teams you could do that against. I don't think that Chelsea team they can't. It's not really designed for that.
No, but I've got to hold on to a glimmer of hope. Otherwise, I've got nothing if I haven't got hope anymore. Let's get into the comments quickly. Guys, do leave a like on the stream. As I keep saying, I'm pushing for 40 likes on every stream, trying to get the channel back and running in terms of getting, obviously, daily streams out and daily content. So any help with that is massively appreciated. Scott, Mark Robbins, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Pochettino. Pochettino's unattainable. He's the USA manager. Van Nistelrooy is obviously, he's just left United. Mark Robbins, he's a championship manager. He is a championship manager who's like, I think that's his level.
Not even top level championship manager, like a mid-table championship manager.
He runs out of ideas every season with Coventry. They start really slow consecutively every season, and then last season, was it last season or the season before? They finished season before, weren't it? They finished in the playoffs. But he's not much better than that.
Do you see my bite? Did you see my post? We got so many bites from Coventry fans. I think I showed Neel where it was like after he got sacked, it was like, where are they going to put the statue of him? Outside the CBS, outside St Andrews, or outside Sixfield? Oh, some of the comments underneath that were brilliant. Prashant, welcome into the chat. I really hope I'm wrong about this, but I don't think there's either manager would eager to join Leicester with the strong possibility of relegation looming. I think, though, all of those managers will have enough faith in their own ability to think that that Leicester wouldn't go down. But it's like that caliber of manager will not be available for the longest time. It's like the longer you wait, one, the more of the rut will carry on, and two, like other jobs will become available.
Mm-hmm.
And the bigger the job will be. Sorry. Yeah.
No, it's all right. And then if we keep, the problem is with that comment is that the worse we get, the more that comment becomes true.
Yeah.
So it doesn't become true when we get relegated to the Championship.
And then we'll stay there for a few years.
Yeah, I don't think we bounced straight back up this time, sadly.
No.
Evening, guys. Has Cooper gone yet? Not yet. Agneem, welcome into the chat. Greg, how are you doing, mate? I hope you are well. Craig, okay, well, have you heard this? Heard what, mate? Sorry, I've been going for 15 minutes and didn't. I've only just got into the comments, so I do apologise. The next manager, Chop has to be honest with whoever it is. I don't think it was Top that lied to Enzo, by the way. I think that would have been like the football people on the board, because Top's not one of the football people. He's the financial man, really, isn't he? So.
Well, it's the financial man that's also in charge of King Power, horses, which he prefers, and all this other stuff. And then football's kind of like a side thing. Side thing.
If we take the risk during the break, got to be Still or Carlos for me. If it's during little games for adaptation to the footy, it's David Moyes. Thing is, we'll get into David Moyes. Okay, that sounded really wrong. I didn't mean it like that. We'll talk about David Moyes in a second. But for me, everyone says about David Moyes as a short-term appointment. David Moyes is above the caliber of a manager that will accept a one-year deal. I think he's got too much credit in the game to just look at a club like us at a one-year deal.
He's got a Europa League trophy, let's not forget.
Yeah,
precisely.
Do you remember as Greg says, hit the likes. It does make a real difference. Andreas, welcome into the chat. Has it gone yet? Neel, it could have been points deduction putting Potter off. There is that potential. There's also he didn't want to work with Rodkin. I don't know which one of those is true.
Also, I think he had control. He wanted control more over the transfers, and I think we didn't want to give that to him.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that, though. I don't think a manager should ever have control over transfers, because we gave that to Brendan Rodgers and we signed absolute dross.
It was terrible.
Tom, how are you doing? I hope you are well. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I'm not convinced by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I can't lie, but I don't know enough about him. You look at his time at United. He did all right, but a lot of it was behind closed doors, which didn't seem like real football to me. And also, most semi-competent managers will get a tune out of Man United purely because of the quality of players that they've got. With Cooper at the helm, we're going down like the Titanic. We're falling over the line in games, not winning with competence. I think that's a very fair comment.
Very fair comment.
Nigel Pearson. We can't go back to that again, sure.
Third time for Nigel. Yeah, you say that, but we're probably going back for Potter after time number 4, eh?
Eventually with Potter, it's either he says yes this time, or as Neel says, restraining order time. Rich, how are you doing, mate? I hope you are well. Just watched most of the call-in show. Really interested, although Ragsy was out of order. I don't disagree, mate. I don't disagree. To confirm, I'm now at the position of Cooper out. I think that's meant to say on performance. Still in a good position, but now's the time to act. I agree. I think now's the time to be proactive. If we wait, it's reactive, and then you're almost chasing your own tails instead of being proactive and ruthless like we've been before. This feels like if it drags out, it could be a very similar situation to Brendan Rodgers. Our board is shocking. I bet they don't even know what to do next. I hope it gets toxic, anything to get Cooper out. I hope it doesn't get toxic, because if it gets toxic, it means it's going wrong. Like, my ideal situation is we win the next couple of games and Cooper sort of turns it around. But I think that's a complete fantasy. I don't think that's ever going to happen, if I'm honest. I think we'll get turned over really easy against Chelsea. I worry you might be right. 12:30 kickoffs always give strange results. You never know. You never know. As Greg says, never back the early kickoff. Doug, how are you doing, mate? I hope you are well. There's so many comments. I can't get through all of them, but I've just seen Ali is in the chat as well. Welcome. I used to date Pierre from Little Mitch. We ended on good terms. She says her current partner, Oxley.
I've just screenshotted that, sent it to him, going, "You've not commented anything for ages, and then you comment that monstrosity."
To be fair, though, Palace aren't in any better of a situation than us, and they look like they're
No.
missing Jordan Ayew, which...
Are we above them still?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, mate. We got it. Yeah, they're in the relegation zone. Not for long.
Leicester, hold my beer. We need a two-striker up front. We need a two-striker up front manager that plays 4-4-2 or 3-5-2. Only Vardy is a one-striker up top manager. Ayew is deadly with two strikers up front. But the thing is, I agree with that to an extent, but scoring goals has not been the problem for us this season. It's everything that's behind with conceding goals. But again,
with that, if you play a two up front, you normally have to drop a cam. Now, it's not worth putting Jordan Ayew in the team in order to get rid of Buonanotte. And if that's the case, let Buonanotte push up as the second striker, rather than having Jordan Ayew in the team. If Jordan Ayew comes on as a sub for Buonanotte, I'm okay with that. But that, again, playing two up top, I think can work. I think, did we do it against Ipswich? Or is it just because they had 10 men? It felt like we had an extra striker.
Yeah, I think because that was only once they went down to 10 men. Top doesn't understand that if we were relegated one more time, 90% of the international fan base would flee. I'm Canadian.
Don't think so.
I don't know, because we've always had a decent core of foreign fans, but obviously recent years that has exploded and become a lot bigger. So potentially could be the case. Again, I don't know enough about sort of the foreign groups to comment on it. SDG, behave yourself, otherwise I'm going to take mod away from you.
I'm going.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll give him a virtual red card.
Red card. Let's have a look at this. What's this?
I brought this up. So this is facts to back up what we're saying. After 11 Premier League games, Leicester City stack up against the rest. 19th in terms of XG, 18th, XG goals, assist and goal difference, XG, total shots 18th, total shots on target 18th, big chances 17th, touches in the opponent's box 18th, and we are in 15th position.
So what you're saying is, but like by XG, we probably should be 18th, and like all the big stats.
Pretty much. We're doing better. It's kind of what we expected. We're quite lucky and we're doing better than expected.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we'll talk about the quality of the squad in a second. So that to me says that it's individual quality dragging us through big moments. And it's like, I think there's an element of individual quality and also an element of a lot of our results. There's been huge amount of fortune to. When you look at Southampton, you look at Ipswich, two of the worst teams in the league, along with us. We didn't look competitive in either of those games until they were. Yeah, but with those two, but I'd say Bournemouth's slightly different because they're a much better side. But Ipswich and Southampton, we didn't look competitive in either of those games until they were down to 10 men. So, is that Gaza? Is that Steve Cooper or is that the squad?
I hate going in on people. I really do. But I'm going to do it because I've had enough of pussyfooting around about the questions. I'm just going to do it. I think Steve Cooper has been set up personally a little bit by the board. I don't really think he's a tactician. I don't think he's the best thing since sliced bread or anything like that. Look at Nottingham Forest position where they are now, where they were with him, why they had to get rid of him. No one else would have him. We've took him. But, and this is a very big but, the caliber of players that we have as a whole, I don't feel is 100% Premier League proven at all. I know there was the talk of caps the other day, and I know there was talk of like how many appearances they've had and all this sort of stuff. But if you look at the way that we're playing, and maybe it's not just like the appearances. Maybe it's just their attitude towards certain things or their professionalism towards certain things. I know everyone's saying like Harry Winks was shouting at Steve Cooper on the sideline. What's that going to achieve? You're in the middle of a football game. If you don't agree with the manager, talk about that away from the cameras, away from this. You know, chucking someone under the bus is not a great thing to see from anyone, really.
That's not the first time, though, is it? Because he did it on
it's not
on the TV, didn't he? On the interview after the Forest game, and it's like,
and this is what I mean.
I get that frustration is definitely starting to boil over.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know, even at the time, and it's like, it was what Harry Winks said at the time was very telling, but it didn't sit right with me coming out publicly and saying it, Neil.
No.
Yeah, and there's an element of disrespect because you don't think that person's worth the time, and that's surprising for somebody like Harry Winks, who maybe not that, I think he's only like 27, 28, but you'd expect that might be from like a 19-year-old, 20-year-old kind of throwing his toy. I'm good, I'm better than this, and I think maybe he's been a little bit, would you say, betrayed by the whole Enzo situation. They thought they were going to get somebody in, and you imagine if he played under a team like maybe he's feeling like us as fans, which again is a good thing, but again it is irresponsible. But maybe he's sensing the frustration, going, I came here to play this type of football. He wouldn't shut up about Enzo. He would go on and he would talk about all of these particular things. He would go, we've got such good team, such good squad. We've got a great team here. We're playing great football. This is a football why I've joined. Enzo's one of the best managers I've ever worked with, if not the best in terms of tactics. And then you hear him and he just seems so deflated. And I think he's been one of the people that go, I want to play this style. And I think if he doesn't get his way, he will end up walking, because he goes, I've come here for this team to play a particular brand of football. It's not worked. We were propping possession football. It's not happened. And even somebody like Rob Tanner has mentioned that. And it's gone, the next manager we'll have has been possession based. And it's just backfired horribly. So I'm just hoping we just get this over and done with. We made the mistake, cut the loss. Thank you, Steve Cooper, but you're not at this level. We've got to go and get somebody else.
I wonder if Steve Cooper, and like we'll all know examples of people like this, if he really blagged his way through. I'll just see what Greg said, pot kettle and all of that, mate. But anyway, with Steve Cooper, I wonder, and we all know someone who's like this, who talks brilliantly in an interview, and then when it comes to actually doing the job, they're a little bit like, yeah, I've waffled my way through that slightly. Because his opening press conference, he said something about not changing away from what Enzo's done too much. And I think even if Enzo was still our manager now, I think some of it would have had to been slightly adapted and tweaked to the Premier League. But it's not just been slightly adapted and tweaked to the Premier League. It's just been put in the bin now. Pretty
much. And he goes, yeah, we're going to play my style and my way. And it's just not worked. And and again, he talks a good game, but the problem is, in that example, we've all worked with people and I'm like, how the hell have you got a job here in that higher position? And you're not good at your job. I'm thinking of somebody where his assistant used to pick all the stuff for him, but he used to get the credit. And it's like, how have you got a job here? But you don't look at the individual, go, you're getting paid. That's your problem. The company's the one the company is the real one that's going to suffer out of this, and they're to blame. I didn't blame him for having the job or being on the paycheck that guy was at, but I blame the company, going, well, he's making you look bad. That's on you.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's quickly have a look at the poll. Are we being too harsh on Cooper? 20% have said yes, 80% have said no. And I feel like the 20% are probably the few followers that I've got that aren't Leicester fans. I can't lie. If there's anyone who's genuinely a Leicester fan and voted yes, let me know in the comment section, because I'd love to
Ali's
know.
Voted on that because he wants them to stay in the Premier League.
It was definitely Ali was one of them. But David Moyes was the other name linked in that story. And as I say, it is from Footy Insider, so take it with a pinch of salt. I wouldn't be against David Moyes, but again, the football's not pretty. For me, I'm not too concerned about the style of football, but one thing he will do is shore up that defence. And I think at the moment, that is our biggest issue, Daz.
Yeah. The defence is a massive issue. It doesn't help with Ricky P getting injured either. I think that's... Sorry, I just meant that. It doesn't help with Ricky P being injured, obviously. James Justin is being chucked under the bus. Did you see that the shot of JJ in the stands?
Yeah,
Mate,
broken,
it was horrible to see JJ like that, considering how he's been for us. Look, for me, if we're going to go for David Moyes, again, he's not my first choice, but I'd welcome him with open arms, because I tell you something, the bloke's got calibre. He's been there, done that before. He's managed at higher clubs. He's got a team like West Ham, albeit with obviously, Declan Rice, etc. in there, but one player doesn't make a team. I feel that it'll be a good appointment. I just want the board this is what we're doing. This is the identity we're going to have, and stick with it. Don't do what they've done this time around, which is gone for a Mickey Mouse appointment because they can't be bothered in spending any money. Go for someone and stick to a philosophy, because fans can't go through it, mate, because it's too dangerous. I don't think they quite understand. We get relegated, mate, the book's going to be thrown at us, and we ain't going to come straight to the cup. We're going to get transfer embargoes. We're going to get everything. And I feel that Moyes would shore up that defence. He'd probably go, I don't think he'd go 5 at the back, but he might, just to solidify it, an extra man in that back line and play on the counter attack. Who knows? But yeah, I think he'd be a good appointment. Not my first choice, but I wouldn't say no.
No, he's not my first choice, but I think one thing he guarantees is that defensively we will tighten up at the back, which I think obviously is a huge, huge problem. Like, we look defensively absolutely shambolic game after game after game, and we were sold on the idea that Steve Cooper would keep us defensively solid, and like a good counter-attacking team. We're neither of those, Neil.
We're not. I don't know what we are. This is the image that Daz was talking about, if anybody was wondering. It was that, again, absolutely. Again, that probably doesn't do it justice, but he was somebody... What I like about James Justin, he wears his heart on his sleeve. And when he comes out in interviews, even when under Enzo, when things weren't working, he was like, look, it's our fault. We should do better. I don't exactly know what went wrong, but we're going to fix it. We're going to make sure that it goes better. So, yeah. What was your question again,
Ant? Defensively, we've looked shambolic under Steve Cooper.
There's just no identity. I don't know what he's trying to achieve. Is he trying to play attacking? With Enzo, even if you didn't like it, you knew what he was going to do. You knew what the tactic was. The tactic for him, the only thing I can see is us getting exposed on the left-hand side. James Justin getting exposed. That's the only tactic that I'm really seeing, which plays in the opposition's hands. But again, I did a preview with a Man United fan, and I called out, I said, the only thing I got wrong is the fact that we'd lose 3. I thought we'd lose 3-1, not 3-0. But all the goals come down the other side. We're not going to defend that well. If you're going to be, Claude Puel, he's a better manager, but he played very defensive football. But you could see what he was trying to do. I don't see what Steve's trying to do at all.
I got this comment earlier today on one of my match reactions, and I thought this sort of summed it up as... bear with me, just want to get it up. As a United fan, I do feel sorry for you guys. Every team Cooper touches, he turns to shite. Poor management, and seem to just let you run at us time after time without any reply. And it's like, I don't know what can we say to that? Because I feel like that's absolutely hit the nail on the head.
But, go on, Daz. Oh, I was going to say.
No. Literally, mate, it's just PTSD coming back again. I'm sick and tired of reliving this stressful situation.
And United won't have an easy... If you told them you're going to play Leicester for the rest of the season, they're going, lovely. The trophy, the Premier League trophy is ours. They genuinely think that because it's the easiest. They start playing the under-23s. They start playing some young players. They start giving minutes to like under-23 keepers because they go, great, this is just like a training game, but we get to win and get points. This is our perfect opportunity. And Steve Cooper wouldn't adapt. I wouldn't change. The result would always be 3-0, 2-0, 3-0. That sounds really harsh, but I just don't see, because I don't think he has any ideas. The amount of times he's turned and go, what do I do? It's like he's an assistant manager and this is his first ever job.
I'm sorry, I'm more annoyed that Steve Cooper's got the Leicester City job, and he's it's really important to me. I want to show the fans how much this means to me. I'll do anything I can for the club. All that pony that we've seen and heard when he was signed and employed, not bloody signed, but employed by the club. And I just feel lied to personally. I just feel like I said, the Mickey Mouse comment, it literally just seems like they've just gone, well, we're not too sure about FFP, or we don't really want to go to Chelsea and spend however many million it was, if that Graham Potter thing was true, that he wanted his backroom staff and we had to spend more money. Let's just get someone nice and cheap in. He's got Prem experience. This, and this. That's what I feel like we've done.
You get this is what you get. You get a free signing, and you get free results. Very little.
My thing is, this thing that he kept Forest up, so that means that he's guaranteed you Premier League survival, is absolute BS. Because that Forest team, he had so much credit in the bank for. They were absolutely run through brick walls for him, would do absolutely anything for him. He doesn't have the respect of this team at all. And it's like, I'm at the point I'm feeling sorry for Steve Cooper because he shouldn't be here. He shouldn't have been here in the first place. And like, if keeping a team up in the Premier League is all the mantra of why we've employed a manager, Steve Bruce was available, because that's basically what we're saying. Go and get Steve Bruce. Yeah, go and get Steve Bruce, Jesse Marsh, and
Frank Lampard kept Everton in the league.
I would take him. I don't want Frank Lampard, but I still think he would have been in a better appointment than.
I might put my CV in there. Just why not? This is like, well, why not? I've got more bloody idea what to do than he has. Jesus, man.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not his biggest fan, but if any of you said at the start of the season after 11 games would be 15th, we would have took it. Yeah. We would have, but I also think the fact we're 15th is a very false position to how we've played, and I think that eventually your luck runs out. The way we're playing and the amount of shots that we're facing is not sustainable throughout the course of the season. And I also think, Neil, that we're getting progressively worse game after game.
We are. We've run out, in my opinion, at 60 minutes against Ipswich, we ran out of ideas. It took a sending off for us to get back into the game. And if you look at the teams we've played against, if I get up the table and I show you the teams that we've played against, obviously we've played half the games now, but a lot of the teams have been in the bottom half. I'll share the screen if you want to bring that up. And if you look at the table, the teams we've played against, we've played Southampton, we've not played Wolves, we've played Crystal Palace, we've played Everton, we've played Ipswich, we've played Bournemouth, we've played Manchester United. So we've played the majority of them bottom 11 positions.
Well, then after that, played Spurs, haven't we, in their bottom half?
Yeah, Spurs. Yeah, you're right. And then what? Aston Villa we played, Newcastle we haven't, Fulham we have, Brighton we haven't, Nottingham Forest we have, Arsenal we have, Chelsea, and then you got the top three: Liverpool, Chelsea, and Man City. They're really worrying games. They are really worrying because, again, we've played more bottom half teams than we have. We had an easier run in, but the team is getting worse. And with Enzo coming back, as you mentioned, it's a perfect opportunity to see how far we've regressed in not even one season, in a few months.
I think the Southampton game was very telling because last year we had Southampton's pants down twice and played them off the park twice, where, the game at the King Power we won 5-0 genuinely could have been 6 or 7. The game this year, like that Jordan Ayew that goal will go down as like one of the great Leicester goals, coming back from 2-0 down, winning it in the 98th minute. But I think that, like, the swing of that from the space of last year to this year is very telling of the difference in between where we were last year compared to this year. So, and I know also another game, and this is just coming to my head, and I know it's not completely comparable. You know, Bournemouth, when we played them in the cup last year, I know there was a lot of rotation.
Yes.
But we looked like the better team away against Bournemouth in the cup. This year, you play that Bournemouth game out like 10 times, we win it 1 time, they win it 9 times with the chances. Luckily, the day that we played and how it went that day was 1 time that we will win it. But I think that I think it's very telling. That's sort of 2 games that you can compare to last year.
Yeah, they're my tell games, mate. They're always my tell games. I think I said to you before now, it's always good to see. I'm excited to see, or I was excited to see, obviously I'm not now, how Cooper stacks up against Enzo. And like you said, home and away last season, it was 9-1 on aggregate that we beat Southampton, home and away. This year, we're lucky to get a point out of it, quite frankly. That first half was abysmal. And then Jordan Ayew comes to the rescue with Abdul making an impact that we've all been screaming for 3 or 4 games to come on and start. Ipswich, we couldn't beat them last season. We drew both games. So again, I'm not like as butthurt maybe about that. But the Bournemouth game, absolutely. The Bournemouth game under Enzo, it was like, we're playing all right. Yeah, we took it to them. This game, they didn't unfortunately, and I say unfortunately as a Leicester fan, but as a Cooper out person, unfortunately, Bournemouth couldn't finish the dinner when we played them. They had so many chances in that last half and they peppered our goal. And they just didn't get it sorted. So it's night and day difference. And I think that's the thing that gets you. You've gone, and I think that's maybe where the frustration with the players is maybe coming out, as I alluded to earlier. Winks is probably shouting at him because he's like, we've been here and now we're down here, pal. You don't know what you're talking about. Maybe.
Yeah. And obviously, we've talked about it a couple of times. We've got Chelsea up next. At Stamford Bridge, we took the game to Chelsea. Yes. I know we lost it in the end, but we really took the game to them.
I was so proud. I was so proud of that team. Even though we lost 4-2, I was like, we gave it a go. It wasn't our day, and the better team won, and that's okay. But we gave them a right good go. Compared to now, it's like, again, Bournemouth. God, how do we get away with 3 points there? I'm so glad we did, but that's the difference in mentality.
Yeah, I completely agree. Guys, we've got 20 likes and we've got about 50 people watching across both channels. So make sure to like the stream. Also, go and subscribe to Daz's channel. It is the pinned comment. I was going to point that. Yeah,
I don't know where we're all pointing. It's
not confusing, isn't it? But having said all of that, are we being too harsh on Steve Cooper? I want to talk about the quality of our squad, because this is the argument that I hear from a lot of opposition fans. Mm-hmm. Is our squad Premier League quality? Because for me, I think it is. I think we've got a lot of those players last time when we got relegated, that everyone was like, there's a team that should never have gone down. There's still a fair, decent amount of those players here. And I think we've also brought a lot of Premier League quality. So start with you, Neil, mate.
Can we go through the players or the positions one at a time?
Yeah.
And then go what they are? Because I think that's the only way of doing it, because that's the only way we're going to see. So I've shared the screen for this fixtures. If you look at, couple of keepers, Danny Ward in Premier League quality, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Daniel Iverson, not Premier League quality. Mads Manton is. And I don't think anybody in the comments will say Mads Manton is not Premier League quality. Solarchek is jury's out, still a young keeper.
But to be honest, it only matters what Mads Hermansen is, because he's the only one who's playing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, Dad, I don't know if you've got any thoughts, but I think
I'm with you 100%, mate. I think the only keeper on that roster that I would have in goal is Mads Hermansen. But again, hot take, my second wouldn't be either Danny Ward or Iverson. I think it would be Jakob if he was fit, because he's been amazing for us. Yeah. But I'd agree. We've got a good keeping department for our team, whether we keep it or not. to be seen.
And that's an area potentially that if we lose Mads, I think we go down. If he has another injury like a Rodri injury, I think that's our season over because I think he's that valuable to us.
100%.
Then after that, if we go to the first lot, I'd say all of them, bar Christensen, are Premier League quality. Maybe the jury's out on Caleb Okoli, but I'd say them 4 are Premier League quality. Probably Fast would be the only questionable one as well.
I'm gonna say Connor Cody. I don't think is Premier League quality anymore. I think Okoli. I think there's a good prospect there and a player, but there's a lot of promise, but it's far from a finished article.
But do you think he's Premier League quality at this moment in time?
I think he's Premier League quality, but I don't think he's top end Premier League quality. I think Wout Faes, the more and more games go by, the more I'm starting to think no, he's not. James Justin, I feel like yes, he is, but he's being hung out to dry massively.
Yeah. Christensen, Daz, I don't know if you've got any ideas about. Do you think Christian's Premier League quality?
Again, I feel the way I feel about Christensen is the way I feel about JJ at the moment, and I think the system that he's trying to play, or the players that he's using, or whatever his tactics are doing, are not making Victor Christensen play to his strengths. I think every individual player has strengths and weaknesses in any squad. Based off his performances with us, I don't think Victor Christensen is Premier League quality, but I don't think Caleb Okoli is, and I don't really think Connor Cody is. Wout Faes, I'm 50-50 there. And Justin, I think, along with Ricky P, obviously, that he's injured, I think are the only real Premier League quality players we have. But again, the tactics are screwing him over. So I think our defence is very touch and go. If it is Premier League quality, it's relegation Premier League quality. Without being horrible, that's just my opinion. I think we are scraping.
But then let's be honest, if it's relegation, that's championship. That's top end championship.
Precisely, yeah. So top end championship, I would say Victor Christensen, Caleb Okoli. I'd say our whole defence for me would fit in a top championship side. Ricky P would fit in the lower side of the Premier League without a shadow of a doubt. I think a lot of clubs would be happy to have him. And the same for James Justin. Faz has got too many mistakes in for me to be solidified first team starter. Just that's my opinion on it.
I also think with Wout Faes, he makes mistakes, and this is what really winds me up about him. I don't mind players making mistakes, but he makes the most obvious mistakes where it couldn't be more clear it's his fault. And then we'll start screaming at Christensen or start screaming at someone else. It's like, if you're going to do, like, the kind of defender he is, he will make mistakes because he tries to be aggressive and win the ball high up the pitch. But it's like, then take accountability from it. But he is just becoming, I think, more and more of a liability. In the Championship, you could get away with it a lot more. I think in the Premier League, he's getting found out massively.
I think part of this problem as well is that these players, all of them, barring, I'd say all these players could play. You could play a back 5 of these, and that would work. But because you're playing, I think Fast is too. Again, you've got Fast. He loses his head a little bit. He'll lose the ball. He'll jump forward. But then you've got Connor Cody in behind who knows what he's doing that can clear up behind him. So I think that works. Caleb Okoli, the same. I think some of his passing has not been great. But do you see what I mean? So, and then you've got Christensen and Justin that are going to come defensively and then run up and down the pitch. That's a back 5 I could get behind.
That's what we need. I think that's what we need. For me, anyway, again, just what you've said there is hit the nail on the head for me, mate, because I feel we don't have top-end Premier League defenders. I think we've got very, very, very few top-end Premier League players in our entire team. I'm just, again, being honest. But what you've just said there works for me. I could get behind the back 5 if that was the system, because you're masking other players' inabilities with strength in numbers to not rely on everybody else to call out mistakes. It makes sense.
I feel like that's half of what the issue is, but the system we play exposes the defence, which is the weakest part of our team. But
absolutely,
should we keep?
Yeah, it is. And just on that, I think that's a really good. So you mentioned it, like Fast running out. and being not as challenging. But then you've probably got a Coley to then go, I've got the pace to cover him behind. Then you've got Conor Cody go, look, I know what I'm dealing with here. I can organize a defense. Because take away his defensive qualities, and I think they aren't what they used to be. And I can 100% admit that. But what he lacks in defensive quality makes up with organization, man management, and leadership, and the mentality. So, and Caleb Coley again doesn't have the mentality at the moment, but he's great on the amount of times. I think it's Villa where he came in running and was like 1-on-1, crashed into the defender, and the Leicester fans loved that. But we've got the pace in behind. Walt Fass is worth the risk if he's playing in the back three. If he's playing in the back two, once you're in behind, done. Yeah, so definitely. I'll go down to the next one, but I thought I'd mention that, and it just happened to go across. But that could be our defense 100% going forward.
I'm just not convinced Conor Cody's the level he was when he was at Wolves. I think, but again, we haven't seen him in the Premier League for so long that it's hard to know.
But with that, if he's not at the level, you've got play. Like Vardy, he didn't rely on his pace as much. He relied on his movement and his intelligence to get the ball. He's not got the pace he used to, but he relied on the younger defenders in these two to do that work for him, and he's just got to manage them.
Precisely. He can position himself to maybe block a shot, to get behind someone to push them off if they're going to try and go for a header or something. He's a smart guy. So if he can organise a defence, I think that's what we're missing. We are missing a leader at the back. I know Mads Hermansen likes to organise and stuff, but having a good defensive line where everyone knows their job and everyone understands their assignments.
It was when we were at our best under Brendan Rodgers. That's what Johnny Evans was so important at.
Yes.
And Johnny Evans wasn't an incredible defender. What was he good at? Managing. And he basically goes, I'm going to sit in. You go do what you need to do, and I'll take care of the rest. Danny, what's it called? Danny Simpson was another one. He goes, you go and deal. Mares, you go be Flair. I'll deal with the two defenders and we'll figure this out. And he did that. And sometimes, are we saying that Danny Simpson is the same player as Mares? Absolutely not. But they complemented each other really nicely.
Yeah, it's combinations, isn't it? Combinations.
Yeah. And this combination, this five, I think has just worked. I think that worked quite well. Gone to the other ones, I think Luke Thomas is washed.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, Ricky P and Vestergaard. Ricky P, I think, hands down is.
Yeah.
Vestergaard, I would say, is a bottom-end Premier League player, but he is a Premier League level player.
It depends on the formation.
Yes.
If we're playing to his strengths, I think he's a mid-table Premier League player. If we don't, he's a Championship player.
You're playing Enzo ball, possession-based football, places like that. He's a top player. Well, for us in the Championship, and I know it was in the Championship, but Enzo Maresca extended his contract for a reason. He was going to be like Ruben Amorim's going to do at Manchester United, maybe not as defensively, but he's going to do that triangle, isn't it? He would be your middle focal point in that triangle and have two faster centre-backs to cover. And Yannick could do that job with his eyes closed.
Yeah.
And then Pereira, I think there isn't a disagreement that he's definitely a Premier League player. Absolutely. Luke Thomas, hot take, I think he's a League One player.
I don't disagree with that. It's like he went out on loan to Middlesbrough and they all thought he was the weak point in their team. He went out on loan to Sheffield United, but I know that was a Premier League. They all thought he was a weak point in their team.
They sent him back after 3 months.
Yeah. And then he went out on loan to the Champions.
And that was
he is bad. And that was one of the worst Premier League teams we've ever seen from Sheffield United.
I was going to say, in that Premier League team, that Sheffield team was terrible. That was and I've got again some mates from work from there, and they go, just don't mention it. Just don't mention it. But we work in Derby, so that it can't be as bad as your season when we went down. So, So anyway, so I think we're all in agreement there. League One, Premiership.
Right.
Midfielders. This will be an interesting one. These five.
Yeah.
Should we go through them one by one? Ndidi, 100% yes for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he plays as a holding defensive midfielder, yes, he is. 100%.
Yeah. As a number 10, absolutely not.
I think as a box-to-box, I still think he's a Premier League player.
I'm not convinced by that.
There's a player there. Sorry, I'm carrying on.
No, you go, mate. You go.
I was just going to say that there's a player there. His assists and everything, what he's done so far in the Premier League for us is good. but he's just we didn't make a song for me. We didn't make a song about Wilfred Ndidi about scoring past you. It was more taking the ball from you. So I think for me, Enzo has obviously created this scenario where Wilfred Ndidi is now seen as a multi-position player. For me, I've always thought as Wilfred Ndidi as first as a CDM and secondly as a backup centre back. That's my personal opinion on it. But I agree. I think he can do other roles. But if we're talking about a Premier League proper player, I'd say CDM for me.
So mid-table Premier League player.
Yeah.
Winks for me, hands down, yes.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't know why Gray, and appreciate you, Gray, really do. The fact that you said debatable, that scares me a little bit. I think he's mid-table.
Let us know why, though. Let us know why.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear you out because again, I appreciate your opinion, Gray. But that for me, that's not a debate. I think that's a stonewall.
For me, I think Winks is what arguably our most talented player, or one of.
Yeah.
Well, I think Fatou is probably our most talented, but I'd say Winks
has got
is
the highest ceiling.
Yeah,
him or Mads. Either one of the two's got the highest ceiling. Yeah,
it's hard to sort of rate a goalkeeper compared to an outfield player for talent. But El Canoes, I think there's a real player there, but is he at that level yet? Is the question.
It's a tough one. I think the way you described it is not applicable. Jury's out.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to sit on the fence. I've got firm splinters. I'm going to say, come back to me at the end of the season on this one.
Okay.
I'm gonna not sit on the fence, and I'm going to say yes. Daz, you got the time vote.
Good start. Yeah. No, mate. He was the first player I got on the back of my shirt. So. Yeah, he's.
That must have been expensive. That's a lot of letters.
What? I had to up the size so they could fit it to arch across the top. But yeah, for me, I agree with what Ant says there. There's definitely a player in there. I admit that prior to that, only on FIFA, I used to sign El Canoes. But actually watching games back since we signed him from the previous season, there's definitely a good player there, and he plays really well actually when he does get on the pitch for Morocco. So yeah, I think he is again lower side Premier League for me. I don't think he's mid-table or anything at the minute, but I think there's definitely prospects for them to go to that height.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Chowdhury, I think at best he's a jack of all trades, master of none in the Premier League, but you can put in and do a job. I think he's a championship player, but at the same time, I think he's on that verge of, is he a top-end championship player or is he a low-end Premier League? I think he's just in between. He's on that verge. Neel?
You're on the fence again, mate. Come on, pick a fence.
I'll go championship.
I'm with you.
Yeah. 3 for 3, lads. I
like Chowdhury. I like Chowdhury, but the potential when he was getting into the squad at 20 was very different to when he's 27, and he's not progressed that much. I thought he was going. I think he's 26, 27.
Yeah, 26, something like
that. Where's that time gone?
Yeah, I know, but you remember he broke in under Klopp well, and he was in the team with Man City, Chelsea. He was amazing. We played a midfield of Ndidi, Mendy, and him. And we were defensively, we were great, and he was a big part of that. I remember there was a 3-0 we beat Arsenal under Brendan Rodgers, and he was absolutely immense. He just wanted to win everything and pass the ball, and I thought it was brilliant. But he's just not lived up to that as of yet. I can't see that, Daz.
Hamza Chowdhury, I've seen him in the High Cross not long ago. Such a top bloke. I rate him amazingly, but yeah, he's a championship player, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Ollie Skip. For me, I think Premier League.
Yeah. Again, it's what level of the Premier League you're going to put him at, because again, I don't get this. Spurs fans have always said he was crap or he wasn't anything like this. I wouldn't say he's crap because they said the same thing about Harry Winks.
The thing is, Spurs fans, and I say this for not just Spurs fans, all Big Six fans that I'd seem to talk to, think if a player can't cut it at the Big Six and sort of a top level of a Premier League, they're not a Premier League level player. Mm-hmm. When in reality, there's a lot of players that probably aren't Spurs level, aren't Arsenal, sort of Liverpool level, but then can take that step down and still be really solid players in the Premier League.
Absolutely.
Yep. Or even look at somebody like a Callum Hudson-Odoi or an Elanga.
Oh,
Two of them. Again, were they good enough for their clubs? Well, for one reason or another, no. But they've done really well at other clubs and other teams.
It's great. I love that. That's probably the only time I've ever called Spurs a big club. Winks has been poor for me. His focus isn't there. I don't think his performances have been great, but I still think that he's a Premier League level player. I just think at his best, I think like if he was playing at his best, and Gary Neville said this and got laughed at a bit, but he could be knocking on the door back to the England squad. But he's so far away from his best at the moment.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good position that England are missing. If as a quarterback, you play with Declan Rice, but Declan Rice is a different kind of player. I think that Harry Winks, there is a lead. I can't really think of another Harry Winks-ish player that we've got in the squad that would be a style of him that does exactly what he does.
Yeah. No, I'd say, yeah, I think I agree with you. I think he's quite unique in that respect. He does quite a lot, actually, doesn't he? When you actually break down what he does a lot of things, and he doesn't just do one thing really well and then adapts it. No, exactly that. I think the problem is the manager that's having an effect on a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then, but going back to that, Oliver Skipp, I'd say all three of us agree that that's a Premier League player.
I think it's a Premier League player, and I think the issue is with him, it's like what level of Premier League player he is. And I also think the price tag's probably given us an expectation that he's probably going to be a bit better than he has been. But at the same time, he hasn't been given the opportunity to prove himself yet.
But that's because we've got him, we've got Chowdhury, we've got Winks, we've got Samore, we've not come on to El Khanous. We've got so many players in that position. We shouldn't have bought him. I'm sorry, Oliver, but you weren't needed. And for that price tag, it was completely unnecessary.
It is. And the thing is, I really like Oliver Skipp, and I think long term he'll be very good. But yeah, I don't disagree. But is it also that was Samare expected to be left out in the dry and left out in the cold, and he's been brought back in and not expected to have been?
But you can't buy a £25 million pound player, especially with Samori and how much level of heights he could be. But also, does that scream about Steve Cooper going, I can't get the best out of him, Samore, so I'm just going to get another player for 25 million?
Yeah.
To be fair, I don't think, and as much as we're not particularly pro Steve Cooper on here, I don't think you can blame the transfers on Steve Cooper. I think that is done above him and by Rodkin, by Whelan.
What was the plan?
I don't see the plan, but is it one that potentially Chowdhury he's in the last year of his contract, and it could be one that it's looked at as maybe a little bit more of a long-term investment, but at the same time,
why do we buy El Khanous then?
Hold on. At the same time, we've got a lot of players that we've spent big money on in this summer that aren't making the starting 11 when we've just been through our defence and said that we're questioning if we've got one Premier League level centre back.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I just think there's a lot of centre mids in here that some of them need to be binned off, essentially. But then coming on to those ones, I mean, Samore's. Well, Dan, what do you think?
I think
player.
You go first, Dan.
Yeah, I think so.
I'd say low quality Premier League player. I'm just yet to see the heights. Again, I feel a little bit like lied about. Daka's potential was up here when we signed him. 26, 27 goal season for Salzburg, and then can't finish his dinner with us. And then Samare, again, you get this amazingly talented player, and we don't really see him because of Brendan Rodgers not giving him game time. This consistency is a word that I feel like I use so much to describe Leicester City managers and players. It winds me up.
You use it consistently.
But yeah, it's consistency for me is there for Samari. But go on, Neil. Is it 3 for 3 or 2 for 2?
Oh, it's a tough one, man. He could be a brilliant Premier League player, but you've got to take it. We all have a recency bias, and he's and against Manchester United, he wasn't good. He was okay, but everybody else was shocking. So I'd say no, because of the amount of chances he's been. With El Canoes, we're looking going, the jury's out. I think we've seen enough for some more. How many Premier League caps he got for Leicester? Let me see if we can probably 50.
My problem comes with Samara is he's succeeded everywhere else he has been. That's where I'm convinced it's a Leicester problem, not so much Samara, because he went to Sevilla, which is like, as much as people don't want to hear it, right now is a much higher level than Leicester. Okay. Lille won the title, and he was a major part of that in France.
Yeah,
it's like
he's got 48 caps for Leicester. That's a lot of games.
It is, but I bet you if you worked it out in terms of minutes, it's probably about the equivalent of 10 games.
You see, I'm not sure that's the case. I think it might be close to 2025. You remember when he was signed, the amount of players that were going to sign from his position, there was quite a few players in my opinion that were up in his position. That he got a run of games, but he wasn't played enough.
Yeah, should we have a look? There's a website, isn't there, where you can have a look at it? I forget what it's called.
It's
transfer. I'm going to regret asking the chat for a name of a website.
News? Have you? Let me see if I can find that tomorrow. See if I can find. There's one called StatMuse, but that just does. I don't know if that does individual players. Average position. He's only 25. Still got loads of time left.
Well, you say that he should be now at this stage at 25. Should be heading into those prime years.
Mm-hmm. What have I got? Latest performance. That's the one performance. Career again. La Liga stats are over actually his actual stats. But yeah, I'd say he was a championship player, not because he's actually a championship player, because I think we've seen enough to say he's not quite at the Premier League player, not because of his talent, his potential, because I don't think he's delivered.
That's a fair comment. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm just holding on to that thing, like I am with Patson Daka. Where I sit in the well, a lot of people are like, oh, Daka this, Daka that, Daka the other, he's a flop, he's this. Look, I'm not saying he's not, because his tenure at Leicester City's not been fantastic. But I still think there's a player in there, because he scored 4 goals in a European competition, and it was the Europa League, not the Mickey Mouse Conference League. It was the actual Europa League, and he scored 4 goals in one game. And for me, I just think it's, instead of trying to get the players to fit a thing, it's to get the best out of the players. Like there was something that they did at Manchester United. One player wouldn't train, or Eden Hazard at Chelsea. You knew he wouldn't train. He'd always be late, and he wouldn't track back. But if you did something, he'd score your goals and win your games. So maybe it's about getting the best out of the players. Maybe that's what Samare's problem is. Maybe Samare's best position doesn't exist in a Leicester lineup. The same for maybe Daka. I don't know. I think there's players in there.
I think if he goes to mainland Europe, he smashes it once again. And I think the same with Daka, by the way. I just don't think the Premier League is the case where some players just can't cut it in the Premier League, and that's okay.
I feel like though that people say about the physicality of the Premier League. I think that's slightly overrated, because I think the French league is as physical as the Premier League. I don't think it has the same level of quality throughout it, but I think it's as physical. And like we saw that firsthand in pre-season, didn't we? In Lens, we got bullied across the pitch for 90 minutes. But you look, the amount of players that sign not just for Leicester, but for Premier League clubs that come directly from France and how it's a league that 9 times out of 10 is quite an easy transition because of this. It's a very physical league. I think the Spanish league probably is slightly slower and a little bit more of a technical league, but I do think that the French league, why we have done so well buying from it, is very similar to the Premier League in terms of the physicality and the pace that the game's played at.
No, it makes sense. I think you're right. I think, and something we've not mentioned so far, I think he could go to Italy and absolutely smash it. I think Italy's the kind of league that would be brilliant for Samore.
I still think he's going to succeed at Leicester. I really do. But let's move on because I think we could be debating Samare all night.
Yeah, we've got to do that.
Golding. I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Jury's out.
He's one for the future. He was signed as an FFP deal, wasn't he?
I think there's a talented player there, but we just don't know. You just don't know. But there's a reason why we spent. You think about it. We spent more for he cost 5 million. I think that's the same as Walt Fass.
How much was Fass? I thought Fass was 15 million. Yeah,
I thought only like 5.
Fass was between 10 and 15, and Michael Golding was a £5 million deal the day after, or whatever it was after Kiernan Dewsbury all went through for 33 or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough.
I think
so skip over Golding, but I think there's a reason why we got him for that price for under 23s player. He's a real talent. But anyway, Casey McAteer, and again, if he's not going to get game times here, get Golding on loan. For God's sake, if he's not going to get any game time, get him on loan and get him playing games. Casey McAteer.
I've got a hot take on this. But go on.
I think so. I think he's right on the verge of the edge again. I'll go Premier League.
Yeah, I'd say low Premier League player. I think he gives so much in work rate for the badge. He's like a little terrier, but he's got goals in him. He's got such a good jump on him. He's versatile in the box. He can stick one in. Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, I'd say he's a low Premier League quality. Yeah,
I'm going to be honest. I think he's a Championship player. And that's not me wanting to speak down about him. I love him. The consistency for me was it. And I think Enzo's system did get the best out of him a little bit.
Yeah.
But I want him to succeed and I want him to be a Premier League player. But what I've seen so far, and again, this could be down to the manager. I've not seen his quality in the Premier League. I think he's a mid-Championship player.
Okay. Again, it's a fair comment because I think consistency. Again, I keep saying that pissing me. Consistency is a thing.
Which word do you keep saying? I didn't hear it.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, it's just this silly word that keeps coming up. He's not getting game time because he's not going to get game time to prove himself. Abdul Fattah, when we first bought him, was a massive unknown. Let's be fair. He was just this Ghanaian kid we'd never heard of, and he played for a really big side in Portugal, being Sporting. You know, Ruben Amorim, it wasn't in his plans. So you think, oh, well, is he going to be good? He's turned out to be one of, if not our best player that we've got as an attacking threat. So maybe Casey McAteer's being outshone a little bit, but I think I've just got a soft spot for him because he's a academy boy, and I rate the academy boys.
Are we about to ruin another player in Golding? I think it's too early to say that. I'm not sure. And I also think, for as frustrating as we've been over the last 2 or 3 years, but one thing we've done very well is develop young players from like young academy players. You look Harvey Barnes, you look Dewsbury Hall, Chilwell. I think that's one thing that we have got very right.
And not just develop them, taken them, Harry Maguire, Ben Chilwell. We've taken them not just from a player that might have been mentioned, a player that's known in the England team. Like that's a big achievement within itself.
Harry Maguire was in the verge of the England team when he was at Hull, wasn't he? He was always
he was mentioned, but he wasn't like. And people would go. Other fans would go, I've heard of him. You know, in the same way that we saw about Calvin Phillips before he was picked. I've heard of Calvin Phillips. I don't really know a lot about him.
Yeah.
I say Calvin Phillips was probably higher rated than Maguire. But when Phillips was in the Championship and Maguire was in the Prem, I'd say that Harry Maguire was lower rated. But overall, I think that, again, coming back to this, I think that's why Golding has joined. But again, it's up to the manager to get the best out of him. If he's not going to play, just do what we've done with a load of academy players. And that's what I've really enjoyed this year. We've sent them all out on loan. And I'm thrilled with that, because that's what they need to develop. Because we talked about probably two players we've not mentioned so far, but Braybrook and Alves we've been banging on them for feels like 4 years now. Yeah. And they're coming up to 20, like 20, 21, 22 years old. It needs to be make or break time. I think, and
absolutely.
Casey was a great example of that. Going out on loan, getting is he going to get a chance to the team? Enzo took a chance. And as mentioned before, when you mentioned him for Taru, who was keeping him out of the team? It was Casey.
Yeah.
He was keeping him out of the team on that right side.
Thing is, Will Alves is only 19 still, but he needs to be playing football. He needs to be in the Championship, League One, playing football. You look at Brandon Cover, he's out smashing it at Port Vale. Ben Nelson sadly got injured for Oxford, but's doing very well there. I don't even know how Sammy Braybrook's doing.
I've not heard of Dickie Bird on Braybrook, unfortunately.
Silko Thomas is doing well on loan in League One for, I think, Wigan.
Yeah.
We've got a load of players that are doing. I think I'll bring somebody up. There's Armani Richards is really good. There's a guy called, who I've had on the channel before, and he's unbelievable. Let me see if I can find his name. It's Joaquin on, and he literally does. He's from South America, and he does if you want to find out more about academy players, do you mind bringing up? I'll bring up his Twitter at the moment, because he's sensational. He tracks like the under 13s. I don't even know how you do that. But he's talking about like, where was it gone? 25. Where was that? 25 minutes played against performance again from the under 21s. Talking about them. He goes through and he finds about, again, you all have to translate it, but he finds that, again, talking about all these other players for teams, etc. Again, we're looking at Wigan Athletic, and then talking about Silko Thomas starting. He does a loan watch, which is really cool. So he goes through all the loan players. He's just done one. You translate the post, and he'll go through one by one all the defenders: Ben Nelson, Harry Suter, another player we forgot about, Tom Cannon. Then he'll go to players like Silko Thomas, Armani Richards. He'll go through all the players. Brandon Cover, again, played 90 minutes against Gillingham. He'll go through that, and I just think he deserves massive credit. He absolutely loves the under 21 stuff, but he will give you all of that detail. And again, people are always in a different language, but you can simply just click on it and then click translate post, and it's there. It's brilliant. It's so good.
He's genuinely one of the best accounts on, I was going to say Twitter,
100%.
X, whatever you want to call it now. It still doesn't feel right calling it X, but yeah, definitely go and give him a follow. But should we get the squad back up?
Yeah, mate. Sorry, I got distracted by, again, trying to shout at other people, but I'll put that in the chat for anybody that wants to follow him on X or Twitter or whatever it's called nowadays. Bring that back up. Let me get the men's squad back up. Casey is at Buonanotte's Premier League quality. I think there won't be anybody that disagrees with that.
Just how high he goes is the question.
Yes, it's how. Yeah, I've seen recently that Tottenham might be interested in him, which for me is like, for me, again, why would you want to get him if you've got James Maddison? But again, they've
got so many good young players. But I've seen Liverpool linked to him. I've seen so many clubs, but that's testament to the performance he's showing this season.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a good manager will coach him into a monster. Genuinely, going to be a monster. I'll put all of these together because there's no point in doing two players. We'll go through. Fatawu, Premier League quality. I don't think I would ask you guys, but
you're not going to.
Yeah. Jamie Vardy, Premier League quality. Steffi's an interesting one.
Yeah, for me, I think he is. I don't think he's got. I think with Fatawu and Mavadidi at the moment, they're very similar sort of levels, but I think Fatawu has got the potential to go right to the top. I think Mavididi is right sort of at his level now. I think where he is now, I don't think he's going to get much higher.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I think Fataou's got a massive ceiling, whereas Steffi Mavrididi's, for me, a lower Premier League side. I'm not saying that he's a bad player because he's not a bad player, but I don't know. I also think that Fataou gets a lot of game time with Steve Cooper because Steve Cooper's trying to make the fans happy, and obviously everyone's shouting for Fataou to play. So, not that I'm saying anyone getting on normal merit, but
on the right hand side, Steve.
Yes.
Don't play him on the left.
No.
Before we go any further, should we recall Harry in January? Harry Suter.
No.
I like Harry Suter, but I feel like he's a championship centre back, smashing it at Sheffield United. Could he step up to the Premier League? I'm not sure.
I think I think we should do one better. I think if Sheffield are enjoying him, I'd sell him if it was like 5 or 8 mil. I'd just get rid.
Reinvest it into another centre back or something in January that can be ready and utilised now instead of taking a risk. Yeah.
If there's one player you're going to bring back, I'm bringing back Ben Nelson.
Oh God, yeah, and he's starting. He's
doing really well.
He's
injured though, isn't he?
Yeah,
he is. But you see what I mean? Well, like from our academy, he's bigger. He's better on the ball. He can play anywhere down that back line. Left, if you want to play a back three, he'll play any position. I really like. I think he's what the kind of player we should be moving towards. D Cordova Reed, Daz, what do you think?
Again, I've not seen enough of him in a Leicester shirt, but the fact that he played for Fulham as long as he has, I've got to say that he is Premier League quality. I don't think he's utilised enough or played enough. I think he's changed from like a starter to maybe a bit part player, but I'd say he's Premier League quality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say yes, and not based on anything he's done in a Leicester shirt, but like you don't go from what he was at Fulham, where the fans absolutely loved him and like they tried to keep him, and you don't go from that to within 3-4 months to absolutely useless and like not a decent player. Yet to see anything in a Leicester shirt to prove that though.
Again, that comes down to the manager once again.
Yeah.
I'm still convinced if he was playing Enzo system, I think he could play as a high 8. And people might think I'm mad. I think that's on the left-hand side. I think not as a starter, but as somebody that could finish the game in a high 8 position. I think he could do a job there.
I don't know, but potentially. I'm not sure, but it's one of those that I do think that there's definitely a Premier League quality player there, but we just haven't seen it at all at Leicester. Because when he's played, if we're going to be honest, he's been honking.
Yeah. It's been underwhelming to watch when he's been involved, I'll be honest. I don't go, oh, he's on the... I'm like, oh. And I think that's the thing. He's not got the X factor with the fans. He's not got the X factor. He's not really got anything in the bank, really, has he? That's the thing. He's not. You say he's not come on and put a performance in and bagged a screamer or saved us on countless occasions like this beautiful man to his right. You know, it's he's not got any of that in the bank. But yeah, speaking of, are you?
Yeah, are you for me? Definitely. Absolutely, 110%.
I'm with you, and I think as a super, I think he reminds me of kind of Shinji Okazaki in a sense. Well, come on, do a job. Knows he knows he's not got the best, but at the same time, he will come on and do a job. I think if you're playing him for 90 minutes, you're just not utilizing him properly enough. If we saw Shinji for 90 minutes, I just don't think again, after a while, he was tiring, and that's fine. But use him for, again, off the bench or start him and only play him for 60 minutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think the thing with Ayew is we know that he's brilliant at drawing fouls. We know he will work his absolute socks off. It's you know what Albrighton was at the end, where you knew he couldn't play a full 90 minutes, but if he comes off the bench, you know you're going to get absolute relentless work from, say, about the 60th, 70th minute onwards, and he will run himself into the ground. And I think with Jordan Ayew, you know, with Albrighton, he had the ability to put a brilliant cross into the box. With Ayew, he's got that ability to draw a foul from anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you, and makes sense to me.
Right, Daka.
I'm going last on this one.
Right, Neil, you're going first because I don't want to be first.
Oh God! Oh God! Is he Premier League quality? That's really hard. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no just to, instead of going maybe, I'm going to say no.
I don't think he is. I think if he was ever going to prove that he's going to be something at Leicester, it was going to be last season in the Championship.
Yeah.
He had a little purple patch, and then he was just absolutely dreadful, if we're going to be completely honest, for a couple of months. That miss against Leeds, I think, absolutely shattered his confidence.
Oh, gotcha.
And then after that, we were just seeing miss after miss after miss. I just don't think. I don't think so. And I really want to be wrong on him because he seems like the nicest bloke going, but I'm just not convinced at all.
Down to me then. I think he is. I just think the system that Daka's been a part of has not been going to his strengths. You know, you wouldn't expect maybe other strikers to play other roles. Vardy's not like an Erling Haaland or like this. There's so many different strikers, so many different things. Patson Daka plays best in two strikers. He did with Erling Haaland. He did it at Salzburg. He's always done very well with two strikers up front. So I feel that he is Premier League quality. There is a player there. He's just either not able to adapt to the system that we've put in front of him, not been given enough time to get momentum, to get this, to get that. He only really got a sniff when people are injured. He's never really been the Vardy replacement, which is what I thought he was going to grow into when we first bought him. So I do feel a lot of the fan base is very harsh on him, which I don't think is fair. I just feel that he's not done enough, and I get that. But I just feel that he's a good player. He's got good physicality, good. He can do flips for crying out loud. So you know, I'm happy. Like you do a flip, hey, he's great. You know, but no. All joking aside, I think if we do something to harness Patson Daka, I think we've got a very good striker up front. But
fair enough.
I think just on that, I think you're right, and I think if we decide to play a fluid front four, I think if you play him, if you play Ayew, if you play Fatawu, and you play Mavididi, I think that is going to be an incredible front four. And then you've got two sitting defenders, like an Ndidi and a Winks in behind.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get the best out of Patson Daka because when he's the center of attention, I don't think he thrives.
That's true. Yeah.
If he decides to go, do you know what? I'm going to decide to play in. I'm going to play it. I'm going to come in short, play it to a Mavididi, then go in the box. Then I'll finish that. I think that works really good. And then Steffi will try and do step overs, get the ball into him. I think he's brilliant at that.
Absolutely. So, spotlight's on him. He goes into his shell. He starts thinking more. He doesn't deal with pressure very well at all. And I think that's what you've just hit the nail on the head there for me personally. If he's the star man, the number one person up front where goals are reliant on him, he's not going to do well. Like you said, Anthony, he had a very good purple patch in the Championship, and he was scoring goals again, and everyone was ranting and raving about it. But then when he fell off, his confidence was just shattered. Like JJ is now, his confidence is just shattered, and I think he's a confidence player like Inacho was.
Yeah, I think that's very fair to say. I feel sorry for Daka. Seems like a nice guy, but being a nice guy sadly doesn't make you a great player.
That's Steve Cooper. He's a nice guy, but he's a shit manager.
Chris is in the chat, guys. Go and subscribe to Leicester Till I Die TV. I will be on Chris's channel throughout the week. I love that you're trying to point. I do that as well. It's like where is it? It's somewhere there. Edward, I've never seen a striker look less interested in one and doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
Really? Do you think that's the case? I think if you're coming on at 87 minutes as a striker, as the last option, I wouldn't be interested either.
It's fair comment.
That's a very fair comment. And I also think for him that he's come on loan, probably expecting to play a decent amount of football. He hasn't seen the pitch. He might as well have stayed at Palace.
Yeah,
literally. I think he would have had more to offer Palace as well, quite frankly, because we've got. I mean, Ayew starts ahead of a natural striker, where Ayew is obviously naturally a winger or a right mid or a left mid, whatever it is. He usually plays around that park. I know he had spells at Palace as a striker, but his natural position is a winger. So if Edouard's second string to that, I feel for the kid.
The perfect opportunity would have been Man United in the Cup.
Yeah.
Jamie Vardy's out, no problem. Then play Ayew on the left, then play Edouard up front. That would have made absolute sense. I don't understand why he didn't start. No idea.
But can we just say, you know how we said about Decordova-Reid at Fulham and proved for years that he's a Premier League player?
Yeah.
Did Edouard ever prove at Palace that he was a Premier League level player?
No. It was at Celtic, and that's obviously the Farmers League, or it's the two-horse race. Everyone said he's an absolute monster for Celtic, and he's just never, because we were in for him. We were in for Edouard, if I remember, when we were about to time for Dakar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And then we dropped that. Because we were going to go for Edouard, and then he kept the agent kept messing around with asking too much wage. We go, screw it, we're going to go get Dakar.
Yeah.
Now we've got both.
Now we've got both. We've got both, and we've got Ayew, and we've got Decordova-Reid.
We've got everybody, mate.
Mate, we're just collecting like Pokemon cards. So I think. Sorry, mate. Go on, Ant.
No, you go, mate.
I think from what we've just gone through for the last half an hour that we've been through, that's a Premier League squad. Maybe not a mid-table squad. I'd say overall 14th.
Yeah, I'd go for that.
Yeah, and it's like when you say that we're 15th, though, I think you sort of that probably equates to about right. But it's like I think we're 15th through a lot more luck than being convincing.
Yeah,
down to other teams messing up rather than it's a whole Steve Cooper mentality. We've not won, we've just not lost.
Precisely.
Yeah, I think that's hit the nail on the head. It's like when we beat Southampton, that was as much of like Southampton not finishing their dinner and Southampton giving us a red card. When we clawed a point back against Ipswich, that was as much Calvin Phillips deciding to take an absolute swipe at Ricardo Pereira and not get given a Stonewall penalty. Bournemouth, they probably could still be playing now against us with how that game went and still wouldn't have scored, and it was nearly 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It's like that's where the issue comes. And you know what I said earlier, where non-Leicester fans go, but you're 15th. What did you expect as a newly promoted team? Our score lines and what we actually are, I think, are two very different things.
Yeah.
And I feel like that runs out eventually.
We've not got it in us. I feel like Bournemouth was a lucky result. Could you honestly, hand on heart now, say the way that we've seen our players play, do a Bournemouth and beat Manchester City? No. I genuinely don't see us doing that personally. I don't see that I don't have the belief that we could do that as a team with Steve Cooper at the helm. Do I think the players would give it everything? Absolutely, because I rate this team a lot. In fact, I rate this team over the team that got us relegated before we even got relegated. You know, I really do like this team. It's a good team. But yeah, just the performances are subpar. The tactics or lack thereof are non-existent for me, and I think that's why a lot of the fan base, if not the majority of the fan base, bar two people, actually want Cooper out, because with Cooper we don't have anything. This is what frustrates me, guys. This is why it's like therapy for me. I don't have anyone else to talk about it to apart from everybody on here, you know. And it's like we don't have an identity. We are Leicester City play X football or Manchester City.
Vagabond United.
Yeah, literally, it's like stick something at a wall. Yeah, that'll do today. Go on, lads, go out there, try and get a wonder goal. Hold on and do this. So it's not like you said earlier, Neil. At least with Enzo, you knew what to expect. With Steve Cooper, it's like
the worrying thing is with Steve Cooper, we know what to expect, which is 11 players on the pitch who can confuse ideas. I would like to say, though, we were unlucky 3 points from the Crystal Palace and Arsenal game. I will hear you on the Palace one.
Yeah.
Arsenal, I think we were very lucky that ever got back to 2-2 because when your goalkeeper is man of the match and you conceded 4 goals, I think that
17 shots on target.
Yeah,
18.
Mads was just a monster. He is a monster. Let's just have it right. He is our joint probably best player with Fatawu for me. I think he's just a different caliber of player. And if we can keep him till the end of the season, I'll be flabbergasted. Seriously, I'll be lost for words if we don't sell him.
Please stop saying that because you're making me more nervous for January each time I talk to you. But
I don't want it to come, mate. I'm happy staying here. Like I don't want to go to January. I think we're going to sell him.
Yeah, I think we should end the season now. To be honest, because at least we're safe.
Exactly.
Stop the count. But
stop the count, 100%.
Before we do finish, I'm going to come around and ask everyone who if they could choose a new manager to come in, who it would be. Before we do actually go any further, guys, go and subscribe to Blue Tinted Glasses, Lox's channel. We're getting the hang of this now, aren't I?
If you just run your hand along like you're a farmer, then you're fine.
The thing is, yours goes all the way along the screen. Mine's just right in the corner. So if I do that, it doesn't quite have the same effect. But going to quickly have a look at the poll. So are we being harsh on Cooper? 18% are saying yes. So that was probably Ali and the Forest fan we had in earlier.
And Doug. Shout out, Doug.
Big up to Doug. And the 82%. Oh, there's a few more votes. So, guys, we'll come back to a poll in just a second because more people are voting now, literally just because I've mentioned it. So we'll go around and also get involved in the live chat with this. If Steve Cooper was to get sacked tomorrow, which isn't going to happen, famous last words, I don't normally like to be wrong on stuff on here, but if I'm wrong about that, I will be absolutely buzzing.
I'll give you 50 quid.
Who would you want as manager? Come to you first, Neil.
Graham Potter.
Fair enough. Daz?
Carlos Corberán.
Fair enough. Those are the two that I'm really... I really would like. I think Graham Potter's one that I think Graham Potter's the one that there's a little bit more about what you're going to get at this level. Mm-hmm. Carlos Corberán's a bit more of a risk, but it's a risk that excites me, and it's a risk that I could really get behind. So I'll go Carlos Corberán. But those are literally my two choices. If I could have anyone, it would be either of them. But
my only thing with Potter, and again, I love Potter. I think Harry's great. But the other one, I feel he's already, for whatever reason, obviously when we first approached him, I think it was too early from his Chelsea tenure, if I'm not mistaken. So he wouldn't come to anyone anyway. We then approached him again. And for whatever reason, it didn't work out. I just think he's just not feeling something about the club. I've got this feeling. So I know we're always fed this line, Graham Potter's really interested, and your heart starts going, yeah, all right, I'm down, yeah, all right. Then you get excited. I just think it's one of them things, unfortunately, that's just never, ever, ever in a million years going to happen, no matter how many times we get linked with him. And that's just,
he's running out of, I think he's running out of options now.
The thing is, I think he's one of those, he's got a big enough name, but doors will always keep opening for him because he's just been linked with the Roma job today. So it's like...
He wants to stay in England. I know that much. I know he wants to stay in England. I agree with what you've said, Neil. I do agree. I don't think he'll be like fine wine, better with age. I feel he does desperately need to get a job. We're not desperate, but like this season, I feel would do wonders for him to get a job, to get, what's that? Daz, if Potter took it and kept us up. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that comment, Gray. I think if he did keep us up, his stock would go up, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that I want that. And again, hear me out on that point. I'm sick of the fact that when we had signed Enzo, he got poached offers and we couldn't build something. We had to halt what we were building. I want someone that's going to come in, it's going to show loyalty to Leicester City, and is going to bring a play style, a philosophy, something for more than a year or two. Just build.
Can I just say, I think the fact, though, that we haven't built on it isn't down to Enzo leaving. It's by the fact that we've appointed Cooper when he did.
Precisely.
Look, when Brighton lost Graham Potter, they brought in De Zerbi, who had a lot of the same principles as Graham Potter. Not exactly the same style of play, but a lot of the principles,
philosophy
was very similar. What we've done is done the complete opposite. Gone for Steve Cooper, who doesn't have a style of play, doesn't have any tactics, and compared to Enzo Maresca, who was so like intense. So
that's what I'm missing. I'm missing someone to do that. I think Carlos Corberán would do that in the long run. I'm saying that I don't feel Graham Potter is a sought after manager. Let's be fair. There's a lot of clubs in the Premier League that would go, I'd have Potter. I wouldn't. I could tell you now, West Ham would take him. Wolves would take him. I think if Thomas Frank was poached, which is again another really good manager, I don't think Brentford would turn their nose up against Potter. So what I'm saying is Carlos Corberán, for me, is a safer pick for us as a club to get us out of this rut and to actually build something. That's my opinion on it.
But I hear that, and I think you're right. But what's to say that Carlos Corberán isn't thinking the same thing?
True.
Going, if you're saying rhetoric, and I hear that, and I think he's a young manager, only like he's a similar age. He's quite a young manager as well, and he's got a lot to prove in his career. And this is only his third job. It was some team in Spain, then it was Huddersfield, then it was West Brom. So there is no there is a chance that, let's say, for example, we stay up, we get Corberán, and then Tottenham come calling. I can see him taking that job.
You can't return it. You can't decline it, really, can you? That's the problem.
But then it's like, if he takes that, so be it. But it's then, what position does he leave us when he takes us? Enzo Maresca left us in a position where we should have been like a really a decent club to take over.
Yes.
But because of who's taken over and how it was handled, we're not.
But that's down to the board for me, isn't it? That's not down to poor Super Cooper. I think that's down to the club for doing an injustice to the fans and to the players, as far as I'm concerned. I like the fact that they held talks with Potter and we were linked with Potter. That was like they were going down the right avenue. But to even have someone like Steve Cooper on the shortlist who didn't have the credentials that a lot of people were promised, like you could have had Carlos Corberán, Potter, and an up-and-coming Spanish, because Spain, there's a lot of the Spanish leagues like to play the tiki-taka football or the possession-style football, which is what Enzo likes to base his on. So you could have gone down that route. For me to have maybe one or two dogs in a race and to just go for the one that needs to be put down, for me, it's not really like, screaming. It's just not screaming that they want the best for the club. For me, in my opinion,
it seemed the easy option and it seemed the least inspiring. But at the same time, I know we mentioned this a lot. Points deduction, was that hanging over our heads?
What you've said, and it was you. Correct me if I'm wrong. You said that any manager earlier. You said any manager coming in would back themselves to keep us up.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. So it must have been taken into the thought process, and maybe I don't fancy walking into a job with a points deduction, because I wouldn't like to walk into a job knowing that I'm already going into to a tough situation. But managerial careers usually come with a philosophy of this, of that, of the other that they can implement. It's an interview at the end of the day. So I don't know. I think the points deduction would have had a lot to do with it. But again, if Potter's willing to talk to us with a points deduction, I mean, don't get it twisted. If Potter is a candidate for the job, I'd snap his arm off and I'd pick him up in my car, mate. I'd drive him to Seagrave myself. But I just feel for me and my beliefs about the club, I want someone that's not likely to get poached. And I don't think you can ever prepare for that. I think I've got Enzo. That's what I'm saying, Neil. You're right. You know, you can't ever stop someone from doing that. Carlos Corberán could do it. And I hope you don't.
That's a great comment. Chester's one of the best commenters, genuinely.
It just comes up with absolute gems.
Absolute brilliance.
What if Cooper knew he was?
No, sorry, mate. I was just going to say with that, Daz, the problem isn't that it's the Brighton effect. It's not the manager getting sacked. It's the backup plan that you've got to build and take that to, okay, we've got something there. They didn't expect Potter to go. They genuinely didn't, Brighton. And especially with that and then losing a couple of players, like they lost Cucurella, they lost Caicedo, they've lost what's his name that's gone to Liverpool? McAllister. They lost these players, but they replaced them with other players and they've slotted in naturally. That's what we need to do. And we were the team that we did that, but we need to get back to doing that. And it doesn't mean that we have to get to that level. We just need to do it and get to 13th and stay there for a bit. And then That's all I
want. That's all I want. I want our club to be a mainstay back in the Premier League. And I think that's all of us want, really. Don't want this up and down uncertainty anymore. And I think I've just said to Ant, it's the board's responsibility. Yes. And they never should have appointed. He shouldn't have even been on the list. I said you could have gone for someone like Potter, like Corberán, and then another up-and-coming Spanish manager to play a possession-based style of football. But instead, you've invited someone that's literally begging to be employed that no other Premier League club in their right mind would have appointed. With all due respect to Steve Cooper, he's a lovely bloke. But one stint of staying up in a season with Forest does not make you a Premier League proven manager in my eyes.
Oh, I completely agree with that. But we have been going for an hour and 47 minutes, and that's absolutely flown by for me. But
rather do this than watch Steve Cooper ball.
Oh, trust me. Should we do it next week? When Chelsea? No, I'm going to the Chelsea game anyway after the international break. So.
Yeah. Guys, let everyone know where they can find you. Your link is in the title. It is the pinned comment, but please let everyone know where they can find you.
So you can find me at the @ symbol LCFC_Daz. I have been meaning to make a few videos. I've been toying with the idea of a FIFA sort of thing. I seen Ant it was a really good idea, so I might pinch that off you, mate. And I am going to try and get into it a bit more. I have been ill, so I do apologise. My voice isn't great, but I've got about 6 or 7 videos that are going to be hitting in the next couple of weeks and hopefully getting more people like you guys on the channel as well. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, make sure to go and check out Daz's channel. I really appreciate you coming on and giving up nearly 2 hours of your time.
That's fine, mate.
Neil, let everyone know where they can find you, mate.
I think you've all seen Beyond the 90. You've seen me by now, but yeah, thanks for having me, Ant. Yeah, I know it's an impromptu thing as well.
Absolute pleasure. But guys, thank you so much to everyone who has been watching. I really do appreciate it. If you could leave a like, it massively helps out. If you're not already subscribed, I'll see you guys in the next one.